Hey everyone. Today we're going to talk about contemporary artists who work with toys. They make art with toys, things that they found, recycled, donated, found in their house from their kids, whatever. So these are all artists working now. Okay. Working with recycled toys. This is a little piece from a Japanese artist. His name is Hiroshi Fuji. He's working now. These are all contemporary artists, so people that are alive and working right now. And you can see all the little toys in here. Maybe you can recognize some of them. I see, I think maybe Pokemon, some McDonald's Happy Meal things, a SpongeBob. A lot of these are Japanese toys, so I don't recognize them, but he's created these patterns with multiples of them. He made this giant installation called Jurassic Plastic. And plastic is made from petroleum, from crude oil, which, comes from the earth and goes back. I think he's referencing all the way from the Jurassic period, which was also the time of the dinosaurs. So he's trying to make that link. He's an artist that talks a lot about consumption, how we're using too many things. There's too many plastic things made in the world. And that's what he's trying to get across in this art is the how things are being wasted. And there's just so much of them. So here's a big picture. You can see the installation. He's got these patterns and the big dinosaurs. And then in the back, there's piles of just toys the dinosaurs are standing in. And what was neat about this exhibit was there's an interactive part where you could go and play with the toys and make things you wanted, like in this back area here. You couldn't mess around with his patterns, but you could make what you want. And I have a little video that shows how this works. So you could see there how the kids and adults, could work with the materials and play with them because they're toys, right? Or they could build an art piece out of them or do whatever they wanted. It was a neat exhibit that had that piece to it. So here's sort of, you can probably recognize some more characters in this detail shot of the exhibit. And there was over 50,000 recycled toys used to make this show. This is an artist, it's an installation that was in San Francisco at the Asian Art Museum a number of years ago. The artist's name is Sui Jin Gao, and he's a Chinese artist. And here he has Chairman Mao, who was in charge of China a while ago. And he's sleeping, and he's surrounded by, can you tell what these are? It's a whole bunch of little tiny plastic dinosaurs. They're probably all made in China. And during the time of Mao, that was the time of communism, and these types of things were not available. They weren't being made, and they weren't around. So now Mao is surrounded. Mao was very against capitalism, like making goods to sell and selling goods, and so this is symbolizing sort of that clash between Mao and those ideas. So he's surrounded by the little plastic dinosaurs that are now being made in China, like hundreds of thousands of millions of them. It's almost like a little painting too on the floor there, like a mosaic or a painting, but it's a sculpture. I think we all know who this is. I hope this is President Obama. And he is made up of, can anyone guess? Little tiny plastic army men, white ones and black ones, symbolizing was white versus black, good versus evil. So this portrait of Obama, it talks about war and wars are fought for a lot of reasons, good and bad, and a lot of bad things happen while trying to protect good things like human rights, something like that. So the artist, by choosing to use these little army men and only use white and black ones, talks a lot about good and evil in war and the tough decisions that President Obama had to make. This is another portrait by the same artist. His name is Joe Black. He's a British artist, and this is called Made in China, and it's a portrait of a Chinese soldier, a boy soldier. The portrait was taken in 1938 by Robert Capa, who's a famous photojournalist. And here he's again used the medium of toy soldiers to make a very realistic portrait of this boy soldier. So here you can see him gluing. This one's different from the sleeping Mao because this is actually a vertical portrait. He's glued on all these soldiers onto the wall to make this picture of the photograph. And he also painted them the colors that he wanted to make it a little more, to show the tones better. Here's one more that he did. This is a picture of Chairman Mao again. And I think people like to use the soldiers, which are usually made in China, and then depict Chinese figures, political figures, sometimes because of those ideas of, like we talked about, capitalism versus communism. And here you can see the scale of this. Looking at the woman who's taking the picture, you can see how big that is. And that was, I don't know how many soldiers this one is, but the one before it was over 5,000 soldiers. So this is probably over 10 or 15,000 soldiers. I don't know where he gets all of these. So this is a portrait done by a Chinese artist, Ai Weiwei. And can you guess what these are made out of? These are made out of, here's a detail to show you. Legos. It's just so many Legos. Ai Weiwei has chosen to show the Chinese zodiac here. That's the 12 animals, like the year of the dog and the rooster and the rat. You can identify all of them here. And the funny thing about his work, he uses Legos a lot. He sees Lego as a language, sort of like painting or drawing. He's trying to portray a message through Legos. And since Ai Weiwei is a controversial artist, he often criticizes the Chinese government and many other governments about things like human rights and free speech. Lego actually, Ai Weiwei tries to use a lot of recycled Legos, but he also, when you work on this scale, you need to maybe order some in bulk from Lego, and Lego refused to sell them to him because his work is too political. And they didn't want to be aligned with any of his beliefs. So they said, nope, sorry. But he continued to work with Legos. I guess he just didn't buy them from them. And there's the detail of the dog from the Chinese zodiac. And here's a map. Does anyone know what this map is of? This is New York City. So it's made out of Legos or some sort of Lego-like brick. And it's sort of a topographical map. That means that you can see the different elevations. There's tall buildings and short buildings. And it's just, I love the colors in this. It just looks amazing to me. Here's an artist. He's a German artist. His name is Jan Bormann, and he uses Lego to repair ancient walls. So he travels around the world repairing walls with Lego bricks. These walls are in Tel Aviv. And the walls he uses a lot of times are important historically, where they tell a story. They've usually been damaged by time or war or the elements, natural disasters, all kinds of things. And he fills in those gaps and pieces of damage, which also highlights them. It draws more attention to them, right? But he does this all over the world in all different kinds of walls, and it's just amazing to see. He also has a website. You can do this and take pictures, document your work, and send it to him, and he might put it on his website, which is pretty cool. This artist uses something that a lot of you probably have at home, Matchbox cars, and creates patterns and pictures. Here he's done sort of a rainbow spectrum effect. Really kind of cool. Simple idea, but has a lot of visual power to it. And this used over 2,500 cars. So we're not going to make things quite that big. It's called Car Atlas. So we've seen a bunch of contemporary artists that work with recycled and donated toys. My assignment for you today is to look around your house and see what you can find. See if you can find some cars, maybe some army men or ninjas, sword fighters. Got a bunch of Duplos here, Legos, blocks, anything you can find a bunch of, or you could work like the Japanese artist Hiroshi Fuji, who used a ton of different things all at once. You can make a work with all of these things. And I'd like you to see what you can make. And, don't disassemble your toys, don't glue them together, don't break them. Just arrange them. Try to make a picture or a pattern or anything you think is interesting. Just, go with it and see what you can make. And then take a picture of it, do a drawing of it, document it, and we'll see if we can share those. All right. Hope you have fun doing this. So we're here in the studio and we have a whole pile of plastic figurines in all different colors. And we're going to look at them for a while and see what we're inspired to make with them. So check back in a few to see what we've got. We took a bunch of these plastic figurines, little ninjas and trolls and soldiers and things, and just make a little sort of painting mosaic. And this one's sort of a little serpent rising up out of the ocean. But it can be anything. So I can't wait to see what you create.